the ball. It is caught. Reggie Brooks. Reggie Brooks got it for a two-pointer. And Notre Dame is out in front, 17-16. Lost the ball. The pass is batted down. It's batted down by Carroll.
It's caught by Samaja. Inside the 20. Inside the 10. He's going in. Notre Dame has scored.
Dawson throws. Open receiver in the end zone.
Touchdown. Notre Dame. Somehow the Irish did it.
Out of the pack, 30, 35. Goodbye, baby. At the 50, the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. Bye-bye, rocket touchdown, Irish.
Tyree. Whoa. Can he get there? Tyree at the 30, 20, 10. Touchdown, Notre Dame. Woo, 98. Big ones.
Zibikowski looking for a block. Cuts to the right to the 40. Gets a block. Gets to the 45, 50. Up to the 45, 40, 30. One man to beat. 20, 15, 10. He's down to the 5. Touchdown, Irish.
All right, Fighting Irish faithful, welcome back. Thank you, everyone who is hopefully dried out after the rain delay, or who knows, it's been kind of a strange day with football as far as Texas being back. I don't know. That game just ended. And then if you didn't catch the end of the Oregon game, that was pretty crazy what was happening. It looked like Texas Tech was going to make a run, and then Oregon gets a pick six, which was crazy. So, but we're here to talk about Notre Dame football, and they put NC State away. I will just put it that way, and we'll break down all the stats tonight, since we've had a little bit of time to do that today. But first and foremost, welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful podcast. This is Joe at Faithful_Irish on the Twitter, and now with business cards, which is kind of fun. If you didn't see that, check me out on Twitter. We are powered by Leprechauns Media, and happy to be part of the universe that is Dos Leprechauns. But we're recording live on Twitter tonight after some serious football ended, and want to get some fan reaction. We'll talk about the game. We'll talk about our productivity, about the little bit of nerves there. I think there's two key points in the game that allowed Notre Dame to remain successful and not fall behind at all in this game. So Jason has been on all day. I don't know if you have any more Crown left, because I don't know how many bottles of Crown or times you chugged Crown today. But at Irish JTL on the Twitter, you've been invited to join us first if you so wish. If not, that's okay. You said you want a business card. Well, how about you jump onto the space first, and then we'll send you a business card. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Jason. Says you're there. Pink button, man. Lower left-hand corner.
Hey, man, how's it going?
Hey, happy to be here. Happy to podcast finally. I don't know if Red Snapper may join us tonight later, but very happy. And I'm probably a lot more alert, even though it's 11 o'clock at night.
I do have Crown left. I think I have about a quarter of a bottle left, so I'm doing okay. Yeah, it was kind of a tale of two games, right?
It's interesting. I was doing a little reflection, and we could go a couple of ways with this, but it was close. I think prior to the rain delay. After that, Notre Dame clearly jumped out, put their foot on the gas, and let's go right into it. Let's go right into the toast. The toast of the night, I'm giving it to Estime for that 80-yard touchdown run to the house. I forget who it was on Twitter, but someone had a fantastic fan reaction of yelling and screaming at the TV. I was basically doing the same thing, which was fantastic. But yeah, the doc's like, holy crap, they scored right off the bat. So it was really a great moment there, and I think prior to the game it was very close. And we'll probably do this on the Tuesday night show, but it was going back and forth a little bit there right at the beginning, because the offense was very unsuccessful. I think it's the first time we went 3 and out on our first drive ever this year.
All right, so I'm gonna I'm gonna initiate my own humble pie because during the weather delay, I was like, I really love Audric, but I was telling my wife and my friends over here, like, I want to see more Jeremiah Love and some more Jadarian Price there, just more explosive. And then Audric, what does he do? He hits the second level and just walks away from DBs. He's walking.
Yeah.
He's just fast. And I got to tell you, I'm 340 all day long. I'm a big fat fuck. That 200 and I don't know if he's 235, 265. I feel like he's closer to 265.
Yeah.
He walked those DBs. He was running away from them, and that turned it. But it was a weird game. We had these, the defense was playing well, and I feel like the defense blew it up. The defense made turnovers when they had to.
Oh yeah,
we had
three interceptions for the Irish.
Yeah. I was disappointed in the non-Cam Hart interception. It was almost identical to the Morrison coverage, but
right.
The sophomore came up with the pick, and the fifth-year senior somehow didn't. So there's that. But man, like I feel like the defense opened that game up. I don't feel like it was the offense. I know Hartman had over 300 yards. He had 4 touchdowns. Although Estime got over 100 yards. And it just didn't feel like the offense ever really got going. It felt like everything the defense did turned it around, made the plays happen, and that's how it was. And, 45-21 is great. We'll take it. But we got CMU next weekend. That's going to be rough. Not really. But
I don't think so. Yeah.
Ohio State's going to be different.
Yeah, absolutely. I think now that we've gone past this game, and I think there was quite a few like when I saw that it was going to be raining, I was having flashbacks to the 2016 game, and if people didn't hear my rant and emotion, I'll just put it that way, from the show earlier in the week, go check that out. But so I'm having to heal like mentally and emotionally from the 2016 loss in the rain, and then with the weather delay, right, we're all healing from erasing the South Florida game from 2011. Okay, so I think this game and the way it was put away, and how Notre Dame Notre Dame scores 21 points in the fourth quarter to leave no doubt, and I think NC State kind of got a garbage touchdown at the end, right? Because I think our defense had taken their foot off the gas there. But regardless, I feel like I'm healed and clean or something after this game, because it was very soothing to walk away out of that stadium. And now we can focus on, okay, we got Central Michigan coming up. We have to take care of business there. Let's get some rest as we face the Buckeyes. I think it's okay to be looking a little bit ahead. I know the team's going to say, 1 week at a time, but I really think that, now these are preparations for the Buckeyes.
I'm with you. I'm with you there. And yes, absolutely. That's the way to look at it. But
yeah.
Jesus, it didn't feel like that in the first half, but the second half was great, right? Like,
yeah, it was great.
We were there. We were
28
on top
points.
of it. Yeah.
Notre Dame had 17 points in the first half, 28 in the second half. So, well, Jason, we're gonna leave you on here, but we're gonna bring some other people on. I think what we'll do is we'll just bring one person on at a time and let people have their reactions here. I see Adam here at Colts Fanatic 09. Here, you've been invited to speak because I think you were on from the beginning. If you want to jump on and give your opinion, emote, and just say go Irish or whatever, that's cool. If you want to scream F Michigan, that's always accepted. A little disappointed Miami won today, although it's kind of funny to see Texas A&M squirm a little bit too. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. So, Adam, it looks like you're just listening. We're just going to move on. Mark with glasses, I see you there. Invite you to speak, although I've seen you've jumped on before, but you tend to be a listener, which is just fine. Can I say that tight end U is having a resurgence in this game? We had 3 touchdowns by tight ends, 2 by Stays and 1 by Sherwood. Now, I had I'm like,
it's Holden Stay season. Sorry, I'm jumping back in, but it's Holden Stay season.
Yeah, wasn't that great? Like, he got 2 touchdowns, and it looked like it wasn't like a new thing for him. He just carried himself professionally or whatever. I don't know.
He's born to play in that offense. Put Mitchell Evans on the bench.
No, and then the what was it? I think it was the touchdown where he oh gosh, it was like a 3rd and long, and then like it was kind of like a bootleg kind of thing, and then he got separation, behind the safety. Is like, what a great play call there. So it was fantastic. And then the Tyree catch, when Tyree, it was like kind of a broken play, and then Tyree, I think, got pushed out of bounds, but then he bounces back in, and then he finds space and just starts running down the field, and Hartman sees him in stride, and that was a great play right there, and a great contribution by Tyree. Very, very good. He's got his head screwed on right as a receiver, because that's what you're supposed to do. When the play gets broken, okay, let's go find open grass. Even though the turf is like got pieces all over the place right now. All right, let's move over to Fanatics ND Fanatics. We're going to invite you to jump on if you so wish. I think you were giving us some live photos, if I saw, from Twitter. Or maybe you're just listening because you're exhausted. Or maybe you're driving right now, right? Who knows? But yeah, no, I have no problem just talking here. If anyone just wants to jump on, just jump on. But I see Fanatics ND. You're on mute. Pink button, lower left-hand corner. Welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful Show again, sir.
Good evening, guys. How's everyone doing?
Yo, feeling great. Irish are 3-0.
I think Fox should change big noon kickoff to big Notre Dame noon kickoff. They're now 4-0 on their last 4 noon games, and they've won by double digits every time. I know it's different personnel, but I would say if I got to go with gut feeling, obviously Notre Dame is more disciplined school than a lot of the, let's say, football factories, and waking up at 9 o'clock in the morning for an early game doesn't affect these guys, and they're usually ready to go. So more noon games. I mean, I know the West Coast Irish might not like that, but
or the Hawaiian Irish, right?
Yeah. But it keeps working. I mean, the Syracuse game last year, that was one that they won, just blew them out of the water. The Wisconsin game was also one where they ended up blowing them out of the water in the second half. I'm trying to remember the other one, but anyways, I was at the game today.
Tell us about it. It looked like you had some good seats there. To walk us through your day.
So I woke up at 3 a.m. East Coast time.
What?
Got dressed, left the house. I'm in the D.C. area about 4 a.m. Got to Raleigh about 8:30. Had to stop and pee. Otherwise, drove straight to. And from there on out, I mean, it was pouring. Luckily, I always carry a raincoat in the back of my car, so I was good to go. I will say that stadium is, if you've been to like Charlottesville or you've been to College Park, very similar construction. It's a smaller stadium. They've got like one of those football building facilities like in the one end zone. And I had brought this up, tangent here, but the drone interruption in the game. And I noticed, I work in security, so, these types of things. I noticed there are 3 drones behind this football building. And I'm like, that's weird. They're not near the field. They're not on it, but they're at a perspective where it's like they could see Notre Dame's sideline. And I was asking some of the people that I talked to a lot on here, I was like, did they talk about what happened there? And they just said, the ref said interruption, drones are on the playing field. And then I saw one tweet just doing some research, and someone said that the drones' origin pretty much is unknown. And the drones are not up at all in the second half after the weather delay.
Interesting. Maybe they were struck by lightning, just like NC State's scoreboard was. So.
But whatever. Rabbit hole, tangent, a little paranoia. But I commented to somebody. I said, "Is this the new age?"
What are they doing? Taking pictures of what coach is scribbling on a whiteboard? Like
stealing signs. Those have good cameras. Maybe they were trying to see what they could on Notre Dame's sideline, but. I thought that was interesting. I'm curious to see if anything comes of it that week from some of the beat reporters, the media.
Interesting. Well, we're breaking it here on the Fighting Irish Faithful show. That's for sure. Check ND Nation tomorrow for the link.
Outside of that, I mean, it is a fairly docile crowd. I mean, I happen to have like two really drunk people next to me that weren't the most cordial. But like, I've gone to games at Ann Arbor. I've gone to Columbus.
Yeah.
Gone to games in Pittsburgh, so I've been to plenty of Notre Dame games away.
Right. I never thought that like the Pittsburgh crowd was a real rowdy bunch. It's not like you go to Michigan State and those people are terrible. Do they serve alcohol at NC State Stadium?
They do. Now I will say their beer selection stunk. It was
pretty
much
stadium beer, right? It's got what, Coors and Bud or whatever, like.
They had Coors, White Claw, some local.
That's
brew.
right, because they kept showing Armstrong's girlfriend, and she was holding. She just liked to hold the White Claw. She never drank it. She just liked to hold it, right?
And then I think the wildest, most exotic they had Modelo. And that
okay. Yeah. I'm surprised they did that because it's got the gold foil on it. Like that seems very Notre Dame-y.
Yeah, I will say they did at least have, I mean, not everyone's a Chick-fil-A fan, but they're hungry. I mean, it's satisfying to me. They had Chick-fil-A. That was pretty good.
I mean, I've been saying that they need to serve, alcohol at Notre Dame Stadium, but do it in specific areas that are designed to stand, like a standing encouraged section. Like take the benches out. People stand on concrete. Who cares? That's just my opinion.
That's what they do in Europe for the football games over there. You can't drink inside the viewing area, but you can drink on the concourse. Well, and they're I mean, I've only been to one match, but it was a legit stadium, and you're kind of like isolated to your section, and you can't really move out of it. Bingo. And
so I'm not saying that like we have to do that at Notre Dame Stadium. I'm just saying, I mean they can figure this stuff out. I'm just saying like. A ton of places are serving alcohol. Like maybe someone just needs to convince, put a PowerPoint slide that says, do you guys realize how much more money you can make? And then maybe someone at Notre Dame will be like, hey, let's sell alcohol in the stadium now.
Yeah. I mean, just not to take up all the time, but I'd say probably just to summarize the game from my perspective of being there, I would say this is a game that they lose in the past.
Oh yeah. Where did you go during the rain delay?
It was funny. I just stayed in the concourse. They were telling people to leave the stadium, but at that point it was raining so hard that the cops didn't care, and everyone just kind of stood under the bleachers. I stood under there for about an hour.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, but I just think you can see that Marcus Freeman is a gamer. He is a motivator, and he talked these guys up in the weather delay. And, it's just there's a absolute paramount difference in this coaching staff than in the previous coaching staff. And
we scored a touchdown on our first play right after the delay, right?
And the red zone, the efficiency in the red zone. I will say in between, the red zone. The play calling could be a little bit better. It was a little shaky today, but in the red zone, I mean, we got to all be satisfied at this point. We're not kicking field goals pretty much 75% of the time. And we dominantly did the last 10 years.
That is 100% true. And tip of the cap to Schrader for hitting that 54-yarder. Damn, that was huge. Now he also hit the post on one of them, right? So that's kind of a bummer. But the 54-yarder, that was huge.
Yeah, and someone brought up a great point on Twitter. I apologize, I don't remember who it was, but to take their thought, that was long enough and high enough from probably 63, the one that bounced off.
Oh, yeah.
Just a couple inches in the wrong direction.
Exactly. Absolutely. So clearly you're a happy camper with this game. What do you think of the defense? Because, there was a couple of moments. I mean, yes, we had 3 turnovers, so hooray. But turnovers aside, and I think that's a function of NC State's abilities. Or I think, let me put it this way. Do you think that NC State made the mistake of using Armstrong as much as they did? Because let's face it, he had 47 pass attempts. They passed the ball, 62% of the time tonight.
Yeah, I was very surprised because I think we can all say thank heavens that we got a transfer portal quarterback that's one of the arguably top 5, top 3, top 10 best quarterbacks in college football right now. Because that reminded me, bless all their hearts, many of the quarterbacks we had the last 10 years, but happy feet, wants to run as soon as the pocket breaks down, and just can't deliver the ball under pressure and throws terrible interceptions. And that's what Armstrong did today. And that was the different game. I would say the biggest thing that kind of scares me, as much as the secondary ended up performing well, they definitely gave up some long balls and State dropped some balls, and Ohio State's receivers aren't going to do that as long as is getting them the ball. I also will say the offensive line in the beginning was breaking down pretty easily.
Gosh, right.
Ohio State, again, their defensive line is significantly better. So those would probably be the 2 biggest worry spots for me. I would say on the same token, though, NC State's secondary is probably a little bit better than Ohio State. So in terms of being able to throw the ball down the field and in the red zone, I would say Notre Dame shouldn't have too much of a problem against Ohio State doing that.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. What I think was really good from our defensive side of things is, and especially during a game that you would think there would be more running. I mean, Notre Dame rushed for 170 yards. NC State had only 84, so it's really, really low. It's actually the lowest rushing total of all 3 games Notre Dame is their defense has allowed. Obviously, Navy, we expect them to run a lot. Navy ran 128. Last week, Tennessee State actually ran for more, for 89, versus NC State. They're at the bottom right now with 84. So hooray for the defense and for what they were doing. Now, maybe that's a function of again, play calling, because they clearly ran the ball the least out of our other 2 opponents we played. So take that for what it is. But the efficiency of Notre Dame on offense is really good, and specifically with Hartman, again, he ties his season high of his passing attempts to touchdown ratio is 6. To put in perspective, national champions over the last 10 years, that average is 12. Okay. Yep. And then ESPN is being stupid and talking about, Colorado, and, congratulations, Colorado, on the win. But they're like, oh, their quarterback, and he had 2 touchdowns, and he had like an ass ton of passing yards. But okay, that's fine. But you had like 40 attempts. It's like when you attempt passes almost double what Hartman had, and you throw for half of touchdowns, that's not impressing me. That's what happened to Clemson, earlier in the week, right? When Clemson lost, they had all these yards, but it doesn't matter if you don't put points on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how you feel about it. Let me know. In regards to looking across the country and all the teams that have played, I can confidently say right now, Notre Dame is a top 5 in terms of where they're at right now throw them in the mix with Georgia. I guess you throw Texas in there now.
Yeah,
Florida
sure.
State.
Yeah, they just went to Alabama's house and beat them.
Right there, because, I mean, you look at what these teams are doing to the FCS opponents and the really, the non-Power 5 teams, and, they're scoring less points than Notre Dame is against those teams.
Yeah.
And I think that was another thing.
Ohio State today, they only put up 35 against Youngstown State.
Yeah.
I mean, was that game like called off early or something? Like, no.
Yeah. And one thing I was saying too in the beginning, when the passing game was a little out of sync, the offensive line was getting blown up a little bit, I was like, all right, well, this is the first team where you're actually going against a school that has a football program. No disrespect to Navy or Tennessee State, but massively undersized. NC State's got some big boys. And maybe that was just kind of a wake-up call a little bit for them today.
Yeah.
There's any excuse not to be ready, but, that obviously can come to play too.
I'm just happy that Notre Dame, and I don't get like too rattled when we start off slow on offense if the other team is starting off slow, and especially with the weather and whatnot. Like, that's always, you got to kind of feel things out, like there's only so much you can look at on film. We only had one game film for NC State, and that was against UConn, right?
Yep.
So I'm always like, yes, this is our third game, but people need to remember that we played a week before everybody else. So in theory, other teams are going to have more game film on us than we are of them all season, okay? Except for probably, I think, USC. I'm not using that as an excuse. All I'm saying is I don't mind it per se if we come out slow, but they came out slow too. NC State didn't score anything until their 7th possession. Their first 6 possessions, they got nothing, absolutely nothing. And for the whole game, this is quote unquote the best production out of any of the teams we've played, which is expected with an ACC school, a Power 5, school. But still, ACC was only 4 out of 17 possessions as far as putting points on the scoreboard. That includes field goals. Okay, Notre Dame was their worst. They were 44%. Okay, now I think that's being a little spoiled because Notre Dame was 70 and 75%. So people are like, whoa, and so our drives, and that's what happens when you get 3 and outs, right? There's just more drives or more possessions that you get. Like Notre Dame had 16 and NC State had 17. To put in perspective, Notre Dame had 10 last week. They had 8 against Navy. Okay, but look at the scoreboard. We're averaging 47 points a game.
Yeah.
Sign me up. Sign me up.
And I mean, it could have been a lot more too, because I mean, maybe it was just me and a narrow-minded lens being at the game, because it's a little bit different when you watch at home. You can see more, but the receivers dropped some very catchable balls versus NC State's receivers made some great, amazing catches to extend drives on their end early in the game, and you could have tacked on another 14 points if those guys didn't drop some balls.
Yeah,
they're catchable balls for Hartman, and I think that might have been too. I mean, ends up being a blessing in disguise, where they're like, all right, we're going to throw more to the tight ends. Receivers just not catching it today.
Yeah,
it is what it is. There's, it's been a terrible weather day, but the good old tight end for Notre Dame strikes again, and we're all obviously ecstatic with that.
Yeah. Now, from your perspective on the field, were you like with the TV perspective, like Notre Dame was across the field from you, or are you on the Notre Dame sideline when you were watching?
No, Notre Dame was across the field from me. I was right behind NC State.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I was in the P row, so I guess maybe 15, 16 rows off the field.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. All right. So that's cool. Well, I'm glad we have boots on the ground here. I'd seen your some of your tweets, and I was just like, oh, check it out. Yeah. I assume you got like a hotel or something down there in North Carolina, and you're gonna drive back home tomorrow.
No, I actually, as soon as I turned you guys on, I just walked back in my door. I'm home.
Wow, man, what a long trip there. That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, go ahead and stay on. Fanatics ND, really appreciate your contribution. Boots on the ground, made the round trip from DC all the way to the game. Really appreciate you again, a loyal contributor, bringing some stats. Although I know it's probably a little hard for you since you're probably just ready to hit the sack, because sometimes mass comes early on a Sunday morning. So, thank you so much for joining us, sir. All right, Travis Light, see you. And requested to speak. Welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful show. Travis, pink button, lower left hand corner to unmute. Welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful show.
Dude, this is the first time I've done this. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, loud and clear, coming in strong. You have a much deeper voice than I do, so it's going to sound really nice.
Oh, my bad, bro.
No,
Dude,
it's fine. It's not the first. It won't be the last.
I hear you. I'm from Southwest Virginia, and I loved it when Notre Dame joined the ACC.
Yeah,
because I get to see them all the time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So last night I was just talking to my wife. I was like, I should take my son who just turned 4 to his first Notre Dame game.
Mm-hmm.
And we went, and it was very poorly planned. We had to park like a mile out. But NC State fans were awesome, bro.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
Yeah, they let us go.
They gave you directions and
yeah, and but all that stuff happened, and
no beer bottles were thrown at you. That's good.
No, it was good, and he held up a sign like my first Notre Dame game and all that stuff. Like, it was cool.
That's awesome.
The NC State Stadium. Were you there? I'm sorry, I joined late. Were you there?
No, that was at Fanatics ND. I'm here in Indianapolis, so running the shows here. But you don't have to go on mute just because we're talking. It's kind of more like a conversation. Most of the time, this is like a loud table at the bar here. But no, it's really cool that you were able to take your son. Now, was this his first game ever, or have you and him been? You said you've been to a few games now that Notre Dame plays more teams in the ACC, right?
Yeah, I've been a lot. This was his first game.
That was his. Oh, that's right. You said you had a sign up. That's right.
Yeah.
The wee hours are starting to make their appearances.
but I will say this: I've been a huge Notre Dame fan forever,
Mm-hmm.
and I've tried. I mean, I went to the Stanford, rain game. I went to the USC game when Matt Barkley and Robert Woods torched us.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. But I've done it, and this team is big and fast. Like, they're imposing. And
because you've now seen them in person. How does this team compare to? Let me ask the question this way: before this game? What was the last Notre Dame game you saw?
When they played UVA with Jack Cohn. So
Okay.
Not last year.
Okay.
Not last
So 2 years ago.
Before. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's not so bad.
Kevin Austin made awesome grabs,
Mm-hmm.
and Logan Diggs had that hurdle.
Yes. That was a very popular tweet where our friend of the show, Mike Sloan, check him out on Twitter, but he was able to put together a Logan Diggs hurdle, but then he started taking pictures of look like Logan Diggs was skiing downhill, jumping over trucks, sliding across the Dukes of Hazzard General Lee, all sorts of fun things. So that was a fun game. So how does this Notre Dame team that you saw today in person compare to that Notre Dame team you saw in 2021?
Oh, dude, it's leaps and bounds.
Okay.
They're twitchy. They're twitch. I mean,
is it because they're just excelling and they're putting teams away and they're leaving no doubt, or is it more like they physically look bigger and faster?
It's their day-to-day step. It's their step.
Mm-hmm.
It's their demeanor. I don't know. My family thinks I'm weird. I'm really observant on all that stuff. I'm former military and all that. Like, I don't know if that taught
Thank
me
you for your
or,
service.
Yeah, or if it's just I don't know, maybe the way I was raised, or maybe just my DNA. But you can just tell, man, it's a different step. And I might be biased. Obviously, I love Notre Dame.
But I mean, you also probably watch other college football, and so you see other big teams, like in the SEC or the Alabamas of yore, maybe not Alabama of tonight. But
Dude, watching Texas, I don't know if it was the white
I was impressed.
uniform.
I was like, wow, this team looks totally different from last year.
Dude, the white makes people look bigger, right? Like white makes you look bigger, and black makes you look smaller. That's true, correct?
Yeah, that's a funny story. Well, that's true, right? Like why do women wear black all the time? That we need to turn this into a fashion thing, but it's like slimming or whatever. But yeah, you're not supposed to wear white, I think, after Memorial Day. I don't know. Why are we talking about this? But I will say this: my high school, which is, I'm originally from California, but my high school had an away game, and so I'm following them on Twitter, and they wear their white unis, and I'm like, oh, the awesome white uniforms, and just like I agree with you. And then Notre Dame Shamrock Series last year, the icy whites. My favorite Notre Dame jersey of all time is actually the 2013 Shamrock Series, which was also a white uniform. So there's something to be said about that, and but I think beyond just the white hot streak that is Notre Dame in this game. The scoreboard doesn't lie. The statistics don't lie. The efficiency of our quarterback doesn't lie. Okay, he was. What's really, I don't want to say irritating, but maybe disappointing, is the fact that he was sacked quite a bit. He was sacked 4 times, and one of them was a fumble. Now, one of the sacks, apparently you can tackle a quarterback around the neck. Like it's a judo move, apparently, but even then they grab your gi in judo, which was annoying.
Right, but you still got to remember that was a legit earned sack. I mean,
I'm not saying it was wrong. Like I was talking to the doc about this. Doc's my wife. Is this your first time ever listening to the show as well, or have you listened to me on podcast version before, or you're just like?
This is number 1 first time.
Oh, well, welcome. You're doing better than some of our regulars here as far as coming on. This is Fighting Irish Faithful show. This is season 4, episode 97 of all times. Episode 100 is going to be the Ohio State postgame show. So hopefully that'll be fun. But anyway, not to look too far down the road. I was talking to the doc about the tackle, the neck tackle. And I said, as much as I don't like it and I never want to see our quarterback be tackled like that, I didn't make a big deal about it like it should be a penalty. It was a little rough, but I'm like, I'm not also one to like look for the flag easily on the pass interference unless it's really obvious. That being said, what got me more upset was when, and I forget who it was, one of our D linemen, he's going in to make a sack.
Yeah, Onye. He touched it.
Yeah, his hand like kind of like bopped him on the head. It wasn't even like a slap. It wasn't a face mask. Like if he had grabbed a face mask, is different. But his hand kind of just like he's running at him. His hands are up, and then he doesn't block it, and so he goes to lower his hands as he's running by him, and his arm kind of and his hand hits the guy on the helmet. It wasn't dirty. It wasn't, and and they're like roughing the passer. I'm like, that's roughing the passer? That's bullshit. It was terrible. So I don't know. Like, I mean, some of the penalties in this game, like 3 plays in a row, and Notre Dame, don't get me wrong, they made some stupid penalties, but some of them was like really like roughing the passer. The offensive pass interference, okay, that one I thought was legit. I'm getting flashbacks to 2014 Florida State, but still, that one was legit. You can't do that. You got to turn around to kind of look like you're trying to get a pass. So that one's okay. some of these other, false starts and stupid penalties like that's okay. Those are legit. But that roughing the passer, absolutely not. It was so stupid.
Dude, they were doing all they could. It was funny. I mean, there was 2 or 3 drives. The best offensive plays they had were penalties that were questionable. So
it was terrible. And so but look, good teams rise above that. Good teams get penalized a lot and still win the game. When they're throwing PI and other crap at our DBs, you just got to you just have to deal with it. You're new here, which is cool. This show's tagline is Scotch and Spreadsheets. And I personally, yes, we drink Scotch tonight. We got Glenlivet here. Oh, every show, you should talk to, how about some of these other shows where we get a little more mouthy? Someone like Adam Dowling here. Maybe we'll bring Adam on here. He's got a story or something, although he's probably, sleeping or whatever. But the some of these other old shows where I just get mouthy and just start rambling and the language gets a little more free. I'll just put it that way, as the Scotch bottle goes down and the glass goes back. But the spreadsheet piece, there's 2 things I started looking at when I started the show 4 years ago or 3 years ago in season 1. I was looking at penalty yards against Notre Dame and time of possession. And I've dropped following both of those things because they were statistically insignificant compared to what Notre Dame is not so much what Notre Dame is doing, but what national champions are doing. I'm comparing Notre Dame to the national champion every year. Right. And that's not to be unkind. And sometimes that seems a little unfair or awkward or however you want to describe that. But we as Notre Dame fans want to get there. I'm not going to say that Notre Dame is there until they prove it to me in Excel here. Or, they end up going to a playoff game and winning and going to a tie. You know what I'm saying? Like Notre Dame hasn't won a major bowl game since January 1st of 1994. Okay, we've been to some playoff games under Kelly, and I think we did. We played the Maroon team, in January of 2013. That wasn't fun. I was reminded of that today, but by the doc. So she's keeping me humble. I don't know, but the point I'm making is I look at what national champions are doing the last 10 years. The most important stat, which is pretty obvious, it's total touchdowns. Okay. After that, it's passing touchdowns. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we threw 4 today. It is fantastic. So we're in my opinion, the first time ever, or I think consistently between a Power 5 team and now NC State may crater. They may suck. They may be terrible. We don't know yet, right? It's their second game. It's our third. But this was the first test. We did what we knew we were supposed to do against an inferior Navy team that's rebuilding after Coach Ken got fired. And then we played Tennessee State, a team I never heard of until 2 years ago. Okay. And that's not to be mean. That's just fact. I never heard of them. Yeah. Now we finally play NC State. Okay. And a team that we've only played twice before this whole time we've quote unquote been in the ACC, and I use air quotes when I say that. My point is Notre Dame up to this point had a losing record historically against NC State, and tonight we actually brought that to 500.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So that's the crazy piece there, and So Notre Dame is doing what they're supposed to be doing, having big plays. Who knew that the biggest play of the game would be, an 80-yard run by Estime, which, hashtag RTDB, run the damn ball. I love it. Okay, that's why he's the toast of the night. Oh, and I have to, before I forget and drink too much more, in the and we'll give you some more shout outs here. Travis at T_light09, Travis light of my life. I don't know. I'm thinking of like Tony Bennett songs or whatever. But anyway, we had people were doing, shots and car bombs and whatever on Twitter, and I've been doing that too. But Robbie Toma, someone tagged Robbie Toma or something, and somehow he got in, and he was drinking some beer and posted it with the crew. So I think so we're gonna give the Twitter shout out to Robbie Toma, who of course friend of Manti Te'o and played on the 2012 team, and someone who I would love to get on this show. We've had one former player from the Holtz era on here before as a regular, so that's pretty much it. So, but yeah, Robbie Toma, you are the Twitter shout out of the night. Well, Travis, I see Adam Dowling on mute. Travis, any other thoughts here before we move on to Adam?
I just wanted to tell you that observation about passing touchdowns is exactly like that's data driven.
That's right.
Which is great, but it's one of the few times in which it aligns with common sense. Mm-hmm. Every Notre Dame fan knows that we have been a quarterback away.
Well, and that's the thing. Like you either have to have a really good quarterback, and people ride the wave. The team rides the wave when you have a great quarterback. Like, everybody looks good, everybody feels good, and you feel more confident knowing that the guy who's touches the ball more than anyone else other than the center.
Yeah, but even on third down, like on 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 12s, like even if everything's covered, Sam, he just gets it. And yeah. I hope it's something that keeps going on, and I'll leave you alone. But it was a good first time. I appreciate it.
Well, check us out if you want to really get my MO. I don't know if you have a positive or a negative opinion about Brian Kelly. If you want to go in the archives, go to YouTube or Spotify or whatever you want. Look up Fighting Irish Faithful. I come up. Now, all the new stuff gets posted on the YouTube channel. It goes to Dos Leprechauns YouTube channel just because I joined their posse. But all the podcasts are still Spotify and iTunes or Apple Podcasts, whatever it is on your iPhone. That stuff is all still Fighting Irish Faithful. So plug me in. Go to episode 5, the 5th episode I ever did, and it's called something dissecting Brian Kelly's legacy or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. And it's very heavily stat based, and I basically rip him. Because I was at the point, and like, you can go to last week's show and I talk about this too. There's all sorts of good nuggets for you to go out there if you're, doing yard work and you just, listen to music, or you're driving to work or doing the dishes, or you want to inundate your children with mathematics and statistics, but maybe not it because I drink and I cuss, but
hey, mathematics mixed with drinking and cussing, what could go wrong?
Well, maybe a lot, but I'll let you be the parent on that one. I'll let you do your thing. Well, sir, I really appreciate you jumping on. Travis, welcome to the show. Happy you joined us tonight. That's cool. You took your son to his first Notre Dame game, and glad it didn't disappoint. You got to see what actual running is as well. So at T_light09 on the Twitter. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. And go Irish. All right. Adam Dowling, I see you there. And I also see Adam at ColtsFan09. Maybe you're an indie person here. Looking forward to the Colts here. Add you as speaker as well. But Adam Dowling, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm surprised you're still up, man.
Yeah, I'm up.
Up. What, you got an insomnia? Were you worried about Tommy and how he was going to do against Texas?
During the week, my work schedule's changed a little bit to where I have to get up
swing shift
a lot earlier. So I've set it up so where I only have to work. I do 4 days.
Travis, that was a bottle opening, by the way. So sorry, Adam.
Yeah. So I do 4 days a week instead of 5. If I do more hours, so I'm waking up a lot earlier, so it's hard for me to stay up during the week.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, there's no way I'd be starting this show on at 11 o'clock, on a Tuesday as well. So it's a good thing Mass is offered at 10 a.m. So that's what we'll be doing.
There you go.
And I tend not to sleep in, past 7:30 anyway. It's just, I don't know. Like this morning, it's like, I'm tired. Last night I was up late drinking and doing dishes and tidying up because we had some friends come over today for the game, and it's just like, got to make things right. And then it's like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here and listen to podcasts and go along. And then it's like 7:30 rolls around. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get up. I don't care if I'm hungover.
All right.
But did you like the noon game, or did you think that was weird, or because
It would have been fine, but like all the delay, all the rain delay, all the lightning delays.
What did you do during the delay? Some people are like,
I walked around at that point, because for 3 quarters I was pretty pissed off at our performance.
Okay.
So like I was just like angry.
You were pissed with the estimate run.
No, that was after the lightning delay.
Oh, okay.
But
it felt like 3 quarters. Okay.
Yeah, I just felt like our offense, like we were losing the battle at the line of scrimmage, which I
agree
didn't
with
like.
that.
Yeah, so that was, even though the defense was playing well before the lightning delay and a little after, they were doing well, but
yeah,
the offensive line, I guess I can't wait to see how good the NC State defense really is, because something tells me they might have a really good defense, but that their offense can't do anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's really interesting is that when the lightning delay happened, NC State had just punted the ball to us. But prior to that, Notre Dame was just up 3-0. We went 3 and out on our first 2 possessions. It's the first time that's happened, and back to back, which is always, a little irritating. But, look, they also did the same thing. Their first 2 possessions were also 3 and out. So I don't get too wrapped around the axle on that, just because it's like, well, okay, maybe this is just going to be one of those slow, grinded out games. The weather's trash, and, it's going to be a little gritty. This is our first Power 5 team, right? So the talent is clearly better at NC State. So we'll kind of see how this goes. And then we eventually go 12 plays, 50 yards, and we hit the 54-yard field goal, right? And we did not start, well. We started on our own 14, so in our own red zone. This play calling was a little suspect. I thought we were doing way too many screen passes and some of these other things, and just instead of just ripping one. But look, if it's not there, it's not there, and you gotta check down to one of your outlet passes in the flat. Who knows? I'm just happy that as the game went on, it left no doubt that Notre Dame was a superior team, that they had outcoached NC State in their own house, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I feel like you notice a big difference in the staff and previous staffs. There was like at least 2 different big momentum changes, and like this staff, like they handled it. They made adjustments. Previous staffs at Notre Dame, that would have been a overtime down to the wire game. But this staff took care of it. They made adjustments. They changed some things. And
defense had some big plays, some big interceptions, right?
I was in outrage for half the game, and we still won by 21 points.
Yeah.
So it's like you look back, and it's like, when it was really 28, we gave them a garbage touchdown. But if you look back and you're like, oh my God, I was in outrage. But under the previous regime, this would have went down to overtime.
Yeah.
This regime, we won by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I'm happy. I couldn't agree with you more. It was a little concerning. I was one of the reasons why we're doing the show so late, not only is just to let people watch other football and to quote unquote make the show more popular. Of course, this is probably how Travis found us, because he had to drive home, which is, hey, everything happens for a reason, right? But I had an obligation at 6:00 today, and so I was like, this will work fine. We've got the game from 12 to 3-ish. Then we'll podcast from 3:15, 3:30 to about, 4:35, right? and then can kind of get cleaned up or whatever, and then we'll go to our event at 6, and then I'll be drunk, but I'm not driving. The doc's pregnant, so whatever. So I got a DD, but I love you, honey. But not because you're my DD, because you're my spouse, but where was I going with this? This is what happens. Oh no, I had an obligation, right? Okay. And so this is why we're doing the show now. Like I would have done it right after the game, but the rain delay kind of fucked all that up because it was like 5:30 by the time the game ended, and it's like, all right, let's get in the car, and I was like, all right, well, I've had a few beers, but we're gonna do the show later, so
yeah, that rain delay messed like everything up. Yeah.
So, some people are doing whatever. I went out and like, well, I'm going to go water the garden and check the mail. And
did you happen to notice too, like some of it's the same issues kind of we had last year. I feel like the linebackers are playing much better, but
yes,
when they do these
very disciplined.
When they do these blitzes from like real like deep, like they're making it look like if they're in deep pass coverage where it's like a safety and a linebacker, like they're still like late. Like that first interception
I think that's a timing thing, right?
Yeah, the timing is just all screwed up to where they don't time it up right. And I feel like when we play Ohio State, they're going to burn us on it because that I think it was in the fourth quarter. I forget who got the interception where it tipped off an NC State guy. It was like the first interception they had. That? Like he would have against Ohio State, that's a first down. And today he didn't catch the ball, it tipped, and we picked it off, and then we scored a touchdown.
Was that the DJ Brown interception?
Probably. I think it was. It was in the middle of the field.
Okay.
But, like, the timing just is not...
It might have been the Xavier Watts one now that I think about it.
Watts or Brown. Yeah, it was right in the middle. It was like a third.
I think it was Watts.
But the timing is just not right on those deep blitzes.
Yeah.
It's just not. That's the only thing I think why I was a little bit not as positive about the game today is because I'm thinking we play Ohio State and USC, we might get toasted on some of these if we don't play better.
Well, but I will say this, Adam, to make you feel a little better. Like NC State put themselves in that situation. I don't know what Ohio State is doing. And they played at Youngstown State, so that's kind of a, But as far as like, can you really take a lot of that game seriously? No, I don't know. What I will say is the Wolfpack here, they forced themselves and they ended up passing like 68% of the time this whole game. What ends up happening though, on 2 of the 3 of the interceptions, we scored touchdowns after them late in the game. And that's exactly what you want to do. When you get a turnover that goes your way, you want to score points because you're stealing points off the scoreboard from them. And so it's in theory, you could argue a 14-point swing right there. You took 7, the opportunity for 7 away from your opponent, and you tacked on 7. Now, when Notre Dame had their fumble by Hartman, right? I'm like 99% sure, and I'm trying to find the actual thing here in the freaking play sheet here. Yeah, so Notre Dame has their fumble, okay, in our own territory, right, at the Notre Dame 27. NC State takes over on our 17 in the red zone, and the score is 24-17.
Yeah, with about 2 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Yes, that's correct. And what happens? Armstrong, incomplete pass, then a false start penalty for them, then incomplete pass, then Armstrong has to run and scramble for 6 yards. And then they miss their field goal. It goes wide. I thought that field goal miss was the inflection point of the game. Now, we go 3 and out, which sucked, right? Like that was dumb. But that after that, they throw their interception and we score. And so really, this is one of those situations where the defense, I think, kind of pulls the team up, because that's 2 possessions in a row where NC State throws an interception and we score touchdowns on both times. Then they have a turnover and down. Then we march down the field and score our last touchdown.
Yeah. And, the defense won this game for sure. And that's what is bothering me, is that I don't know how many 3-and-outs we had, but it was way too many. So if we have 3-and-outs like that against Ohio State or USC, we are losing.
That's interesting, because I don't think you're wrong when you say that. What I will say is this: I kind of look at it a different way, rather than 3-and-outs, because I think those are going to happen. What I look at is the aggregate of all our possessions, and in our possessions in this game, where did I go with the tab? God bless America. There it is. Notre Dame's scoring drives. This was quote unquote the worst of all 3 games, which you would expect, right, against NC State. But we were still successful and put points on the board in 44% of all of our possessions. That's not a great number, but it's also not a bad number. Okay, I haven't. This is a real hard stat to like do in aggregate, because you have to look at every possession of every team. It's not something that most people track. What I have to do to figure this out is go through the play charts and say, okay, this possession, punt, this possession, interception, or whatever, touchdown. And I have to count and do the math in my head. Okay, we were 7 of 16 as I go down to the end of the game, and say, this is our success on offense, okay, versus our opponent. NC State was 24%, and they were 0 of 6 to start the game in possessions. It took our 3rd possession before we finally got our field goal. What I'm saying is, I'm curious what other teams are doing, and I look at the whole game, how because there's 4 quarters, but how are you? What's your overall success rate for your offense? Now, maybe the flaw of this analysis is that I still put like a win in the win column here for field goals as I do touchdowns. Like if I broke this down by like touchdown drives versus scoring drives, like that would be different. But I don't distinguish that, because it's like, well, like how many times have we gone for it like on 4th down when I'm like, you could just kick a field goal here, right?
Yeah.
Stanford game last year, right? Okay, whatever.
Yeah. But I guess today's what happened today, and what makes you really recognize what happened today, is in the last 13 years probably of our Notre Dame fandom, this game would have went down to the wire or we would have lost. Under this new regime, we won by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So it's almost like we don't know how to act, because we're like,
wow, we actually won, and we won convincingly. Like we put up more points today than we did against Navy.
And we were expecting it to go the way it was going, and then we just kind of made some plays and made it a blowout at the end. So it's kind of it was stressful for at least half the game, but then at the end it was kind of like, okay, this is nice.
I wasn't stressful. Like I did cuss in front of children, at the beginning of the game with the 3-and-outs and whatnot, to which I got, kind of that look, right, from the doc. But I'm like, oh, my bad, I'm sorry, just not paying attention that there's 2 toddlers and a baby in the house right now. It's like, oh, okay. Only one of those kids is mine. But the point was, I had like emotional outbursts and most of those are against, the ACC refs, but I never got to the point like this year, like those things that like go to last week's game, right? The Tennessee State game. It took Notre Dame forever to get down the field, and then we allowed Tennessee State to have their scoring possession when they marched down the field, right? And so like people are like, oh, I'm getting nervous, or I'm getting upset, or and people are entitled to their opinions and emotions. I'm not saying I'm not here to be a naysayer and microaggression on that. What I'm saying is I personally didn't like get nervous or upset about how, quote, Notre Dame was doing in the game. Because it's like, well, I'm kind of like put it in perspective. Like, look, it's raining. It's the beginning of the game. We'll give them. Now, if we're 5-6 possessions in and we're still going 3 and outs, consistently, then okay, that's a problem. Okay. But that's not what happened. We ended up getting a field goal and then again, maybe the rain delay or the lightning delay changed the demeanor of this team. Because in my opinion, they looked completely different when they came out. I mean, clearly they did.
Yeah, I believe it helped us. I believe
that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
I look. I don't know if they look at film. I don't know if the coaches definitely go and have a meeting. And they're like, all right, what are we seeing? What's going on? How can we make the situation better? I don't think they're just eating orange slices and drinking Gatorade and changing their socks. I'm imagining there's some calisthenics going on in there, maybe a little bit of, I don't know. There's some, they got to stay loose, right? You're not going to just everyone take a nap, right?
No, I truly believe like the staff saw like, hey, we need to calm everything down. We need to look at what they're showing us, because they were a little confused at first. And you got to give credit to that defensive coordinator at NC State. He's good. And those guys, most ACC teams we play, we kind of own the line of scrimmage, and you can see it. They were flying around. That defense, you got to give them credit.
Yeah, they came out firing. Yeah. And
we really didn't score a whole bunch until we started getting turnovers.
Yes, so I agree.
I heard Marcus say that guy, Tony Gibson, his name was like on his list. And I'm like, man, I kind of wish he was our defense coordinator, to be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I did not hear that.
He said that was a guy on his list when he hired ended up hiring Golden. But
hired Golden, yeah.
Yeah, he's a good – and Golden, it's not like he did bad, but I think that defense coordinator from NC State's really good.
we limited them. Obviously, we went on the scoreboard, but like I'll say this: the scoring margin was really good. Now the opponent's score was a little high, 24. I would prefer it be like 14 or that 17, right? But again, we all know that last touchdown was kind of garbage. Rushing yards, we held them to 84 rushing yards and 340. Let's put it this way. Their yards per point was 14.3. That's not terrible. It's also it's actually kind of good. Okay. So that's what makes me a little concerning about this game. The last 2 games, the opponent was in the 50s. Granted, they only had 3 points in those games. This is the first time anyone scored touchdowns on us.
I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just guessing. But I feel like Golden had a scheme to where the D-line wasn't really rushing the passer really hard. They were trying to stay in their lanes because that quarterback Armstrong likes to run a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like in the second half they were kind of just maintaining their area so he didn't have room to run.
Yeah.
But it was letting them get a lot of yards.
Well, they're not.
I could be totally
they're trying
wrong on
that. I don't think you're wrong on that at all. If you get in your lane and you sack them, then great. There was one time we had just had a 3-man rush and everyone else dropped back, and I think it was when they right after the Hartman fumble, right? And they're trying to find guys, and all of our linebackers were dropping, picking up guys. We looked very well coached. I was very impressed with that defensive series where they missed their field goal. Well, Adam Dowling, we've got other Adam here patiently waiting. I see you, Colts fan. We'll get to you real quick. Adam, last thoughts here, or call it a night. Take the victory and prepare for the Chippewas.
No, that's it. Let's there's plenty. We won by 21, and there still is plenty of things that they can work on and correct. And let's try to get better and get that victory fast next week and get on to Ohio State.
Fantastic. Love it. No complaints here. All right, Adam Dowling on the Twitter. Adam_Dowling1 on Twitter. Thank you so much, man. Go Irish. All right, at Colts Fanatic 09. I see you. You're on mute. Go ahead and hit the pink button in the lower left-hand corner if you wish to join us. Welcome to the show.
How's it going?
Yo, man. How you think of the Irish tonight?
I love the game. Was a little nervous when it was still 24-17, but I'm glad that we finally have a team and a coaching staff that will keep the pedal on the foot on the pedal and not just play down to our competition and stuff like that, like we've seen in years past. Like that's the biggest takeaway. Like I was at the Ball State game a couple years back, and that game was just so bad that we played down to our competition. We should have easily blown out Ball State that year. But
is that the 2018 game? Like we had just beaten Michigan, and then it's like we're expecting to put up 30, 40 points, and we end up like basically having the same score.
Yeah, I believe so, because that was like one of the last ones I went to. Then I went to the 2019 USC game, but that was the last one I went to.
Okay.
Possibly going to try to get a next week's game, but I'll have to see my work schedule. But
yeah,
we'll see.
That's good.
I haven't been to a game since then.
So that means that you and I have been to a game together, because I was also at the 2019 USC game with the doc.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I went with my
that was our Christmas card, by the way. Sorry you didn't get one.
Yeah, maybe this year, but
okay.
Yeah, I went with my brother-in-law. It was his first game, and he wanted to go to the game where obviously a rivalry game.
Yeah.
So he didn't want to go to any other game. I was like, look, it's gonna be expensive, but whatever. So we went to that game, had a good time, showed them all around campus.
Irish win.
Yeah. Hey, at least I got to see Michael Pittman play against us. But
yeah.
Since I'm a Colts fan and everything, but
it
was a good game and under the lights and doing all that. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed the game. I was just a little bit going into the game before it started. I really wasn't worried about NC State at all. Seeing how we played against Navy and then Tennessee State, I wasn't really worried about it. Figured the running game would be really well and go pretty well for us, but obviously it didn't go as planned. But with that rain delay, I just pretty much drove up to father-in-law's house and ended up just chilling there for a little bit.
So you're changing, maybe in the space-time continuum, your movement of game watching to a new location impacted the play on the field?
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah, I was even like saying like, hey, we'll take the 3-0 win if it happens, because I mean those players out there, they're thinking they're going to play a 12 o'clock game and then 2-hour rain delay, and then at one point I saw people were talking about if they could get it in before midnight, that they could still play it. I was like,
wait, what?
At what point do you just call the game? Like, these kids have been, up all day, and freaking you're going to have them play until midnight just to get the game done? Like, because if it would have gone to like maybe 8, 9, 10 o'clock, like, just call a game, give us the W, take it.
Play like, tomorrow.
Hey, we
I don't
scored,
know.
you didn't. It's like, we scored, you didn't, and we'll go with that.
Yeah, I actually don't know what the quote rules are of that sort of situation.
I saw like Pete Sampson was saying like the ACC officials and all that were saying that like, as long as they got it done before midnight, they would have kept playing.
Wow. Well, and that's interesting because I think Purdue and Va Tech were playing, and a similar situation happened over there in Virginia, over in Blacksburg, and I saw that like the Purdue game was still going on like way after the Notre Dame game was done. Yeah. I'm like, whoa, they must have had a serious rain delay, if not like 1, maybe 2, kind of like a South Florida situation or something. So I don't know. That's really interesting to think about. Like I guess we'll never have that problem if we go to Syracuse or something, right?
Yeah, well, I think the Purdue game ended up finishing at like 9:30.
Good grief, man! And that was a new game start, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think so.
Yikes! Jeez, I bet that stadium was a ghost town at that point.
Yeah, I think the Virginia Tech had the same issue, but I didn't really watch that game.
Yeah, nah, I didn't either. So you sound like you're happy with this. Gray House gets another touchdown here. Estime, he was the toast of the night. He ends up with a couple there. Is Notre Dame looking more consistent to you?
Yeah, from years past, definitely, for sure. I wasn't too happy with how last year ended in the bowl game, but hey, first year, Marcus Freeman, honestly, believe he's the guy to lead us to, great things and everything like that. Loved that Brian Kelly, got that loss too. loving that.
Well,
and then obviously Alabama losing tonight too.
Yeah, that's one of those things where it's like, you start, some of these games early in the year, you start seeing who was, and this is why I do not look at preseason rankings at all. I mean, Notre Dame was favored by 7.5 points. We clearly beat that. Every single one of these spreads for Notre Dame, we've wiped it out completely, which is great.
Yeah.
So that's good. So if anyone does sports betting, you could probably, I personally don't bet on the Irish. I actually don't do any sports betting. All my gambling is limited to the craps table or video poker. But that being said, which hasn't happened in years, right? Because I got a kid now. But actually, that's not true. I take that back. I did go to the casino back in March, but that was different. The where am I going? The Notre Dame's a lot more consistent. They look different. Like we've had two people on the show tonight who have both were at the game, which is really cool. I think that's one of the first times we've seen that wasn't actually a Notre Dame home game. We've had a few people like Jason or Adam or whoever that was at Notre Dame Stadium and jumped on the show. We've had two people tonight that were at an away game, which is really great. So we're getting the Mid-Atlantic states recommended or represented on the show, which is fantastic. Really, really happy with that. Getting some new people on. Love it. Including yourself, sir.
Yep, it's my first time, so.
Yeah. So is this the first time you've ever listened to the show, or you just listened on to some of our live shows and you're just the first time you're jumping
this is
on?
the first time I've actually jumping on and actually listening too.
Well,
trying to get a little bit more of trying to get connected more with the Irish fans that are out here. I'm pretty connected with all the Colts fans on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, but I always like to get more Irish fans because every once in a while I'll get up there. I try to go see a game every year, but sometimes that happens with the work schedule. But
yeah,
hopefully, obviously, I haven't been to a game since 2019, so definitely need to get back up there and hang out with some people because most of the time I can't find anybody to go with. I'll just go by myself and hang out.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Well, I'll say this: I've done this show now for 4 years. I'm a regular guy. I am a fan. I was listening to stuff, and the pandemic was kind of more just like a coincidence when I started this show. I would have done it either way. But what I will say is through Twitter and growing this, we finally hit this. I'm actually surprised this is the first time I'm mentioning this. I just hit 1,000 followers on Twitter for the first time, which was cool. That was kind of like one of these like little milestones of success. Got 1,000 followers now. Finally have business cards for this show, right? But I do this for fun. I got a regular job, got a wife, mortgage, kids, car payment, and the whole thing. And it's 12:20 at night, or actually in the morning. I'm going to go to mass and, in 9 hours. Right. But I'm just a regular guy. I am not a professional. I love Notre Dame. I've loved them my whole life. I have a grad degree from there.
Nice.
And so like, and I'm not from here, right? I'm originally from the West Coast. I'm from California. I got old shows that talk way more into detail, but this is the Cliff Notes version of Joe here at @faithful_Irish on the Twitter. But this show's different because I'm very interested in your opinion. Yes, I do a lot of talking, but I'm interested in your opinion, what your thoughts are. But I'm also there comes a point where I have to put my emotion and my personal feelings aside and look at what's actually happening on the field and what's happening in college football. I am purposely and the only one that designs their show around data, around scotch and spreadsheets. I don't just regurgitate what I read on Twitter or what someone else wrote. And that's not to be disrespectful or rude to other podcasts that are very entertaining and
Right.
fun to listen to. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying my focus as an engineer, someone who's very data oriented, but still at the same time likes to have fun. And, shit, I'm drinking a Glenlivet tonight. Other podcasts don't do this. Okay. And maybe because they can't, because they want to be professional. And some of those guys, don't get me wrong, like there's tons of them, if it's Irish Breakdown or One Foot Down or, some of these other guys that are really, really popular, but that's also their job, right? They have press access. They have to be they have to mind their P's and Q's. And if we have a bad game or something, and that's happened in the past or like the Marshall game. No, I was at the Marshall game, so we couldn't do a podcast there.
Yuck.
Okay, but we did do a live show right after the shitty Stanford game, and that was a great live show in the sense that people were able to emote, and I'm like, I'm wasted, let's go, right? Most professionals will be like, all right, got to wait 24 hours, and let's kind of cool things off, and we'll write an article with more level heads. Absolutely not. That is not what this show does.
That's the same thing with no disrespect to like those people who do that for a living, but like half the time
that's how they pay their bills. You know what I'm saying? That's how they feed their family.
Half the time like they're just reposting stuff that's already been reported, and they're reposting an article. It's like, how many times do we have to keep seeing the same thing over and over? Well,
they're all in the same press conferences, right? Too, so
right. But it's like, come on, like, just Colts wise, it's like
there are
I
things.
know a guy who does it for a living, and he's just 2 days late on a report that he just confirmed through his source.
Yeah,
it's like, and he did an article today. I'm like, that's 2 days old, man. Like,
move on.
And how much did you really change up your article? Like, you put a couple of words in there that they didn't put it in there. Like, it's not that original.
Yeah.
But
again, the goal of this show was not to be to try to like find some niche. I mean, I think I do have a niche. I'm not gonna I'll be my own champion here. But I will say is if Notre Dame is not performing, and when I say quote not performing, I'm going to base that off of what math tells me. I'm not going to base it off of my opinion or what other people's opinions are.
Right.
I don't have press access, but I also know the university listens to me. I do know that they pay attention to what's going on. So like there's history of my logo has changed 3 times in 4 years. And one of those reasons was because, I sell gear on Etsy. Now I need to update it. So, I wouldn't go buy anything right now, but sorry, Jason at Those Leprechauns, but no, I got I don't want to say a strike, but Etsy, Notre Dame complained to Etsy that I was using one of their images, which I personally disagree with, but at the same time, this is a hobby. I do this for fun. I don't want to get in any trouble, and I work for a big company, and so I understand copyright and export stuff and all that kind of thing. I'd rather not just ruffle feathers. Okay, we'll just change the logo. It's fine, that's where we are. And now we've changed our logo because we joined Dos Leprechauns. But I joined Dos Leprechauns because they are also fans. They're super fans.
Right.
They're big cheerleaders. But they did not have the X's and the O's and kind of this, cut loose, fancy free, or maybe they just needed more scotch in their life. I don't know. but I'm breaking down stuff. You're not gonna talk to, or you're not gonna listen to another podcast that talks about a stat called yards per point. You're not gonna talk about rushing attempts per touchdown or passing attempts per touchdown. Okay, and certainly these guys are not comparing Notre Dame to the last 10 years of national champions. Use that data and then make a Pareto chart against it and say, this is why this is the most important stat out there. The most important stat is total touchdowns. Why? Because every national champion over the last 10 years ranked 4.2 in that stat on average, scoring 81 touchdowns. Okay, passing touchdowns was next. They averaged 8.6. putting up 41 touchdowns, and so on and so forth. I personally like running the football. I would love us to just run the football all the time, but I know we can't do that. We have to throw passing touchdowns because that's what these other guys are doing, and that's what college football is. College football is nothing but ranking other teams against each other. And there it is. So... we unlike the NFL where, you play in your division, there's a little more strategy involved, the season's longer, right? College football is completely different, right? Every game matters, and that has formed my opinion in a lot of ways, right? And so on and so forth. So,
well, and I always love college football. The atmosphere is just totally different from college football to the NFL. There's nothing that beats it.
Yeah, I think I'm not a music aficionado, but like sometimes when I watch the NFL, I do believe you're watching football in the NFL with precision, right? These are amazing talents. These are professional athletes, right? You're watching football in poetry, and it's, I don't want to say art because it is still football, but because that doesn't seem appropriate. But you're watching football precision, right? But college football, it's a little more gritty. There's a little more drama to it, and not that this needs to be artistic in a drama sense. There's a lot more passion with it. It gets my mojo going. I actually don't watch the NFL. I would like to. I think it's great, but there's only so much time I carve out for things in my life that bring me joy, and Notre Dame is one of those things. After that, it's, faith and family, right? And I got a career and other stuff like that, and a yard that needs grass cut every now and then. I got other shit to do. And Sunday's a good day to do that. After mass, after communion, right? But well, Adam, I really appreciate you've joined us tonight. Any other thoughts here? We'll start to close it down. Maybe we'll give Lynch the last words here.
Well, no, just looking forward to next weekend, and after that, hopefully we can beat Ohio State. I don't really have too much concern with their quarterback situation that they're in. I don't think he's too impressive. I think we have that. I think that's our advantage over Ohio State is the quarterback play is actually better than Ohio State this year.
Sure.
Obviously, they lost C.J. Stroud to the draft and everything. So, and then obviously only beating Youngstown State with how much they beat them by today, and then last week with IU, I didn't seem that impressed with how they played against IU.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
especially with how our defense was today, it's NC State, but still, my biggest concern going into this season was our defense, and especially the cornerbacks. But I really was impressed with the cornerback play and the defense today. So.
Yeah, no, coming up with 3 interceptions is great, and holding them to field goals, right? Those are things you want your defense to do. Get turnovers, and then that allows the offense to get points off those turnovers. And I thought this is one of the better defenses that we saw. Not only that we faced, but the defensive performance that we had. Yeah, 24 points isn't the best, but earlier in the season, and I think they'll clean some things up. And I'd rather us make some mistakes in this game than make him and pay for it in the Ohio State game, right? Use this as a learning experience, and can make some improvements. Now, we don't have the killer defensive line that's coming up with strip sacks and sacking the quarterback. Right. So I do think that the defensive line is, I want more success from them. I'll just put it that way. But look, the linebackers, there's a lot of depth there. We kind of do some hand wringing and gnashing of teeth sometimes with our linebackers, but for the most part, this was one of the best I saw of them. Kevin Davis didn't jump on tonight and give us his opinion, but he tends to break down linebacker play for us, which is great. But the secondary is looking better and better. And how many times has that kind of been a heavy eye roll for us? And it's not. Yeah. We 3 interceptions. Anyone from Watts to Cam Hart to Benjamin Morrison, like. I'm a happy Fighting Irish faithful.
I forget who was the first one that had the first pick. That was like
I'm pretty sure it was beautiful. Morrison.
Yeah, that was textbook beautiful. Never even turned it back to look at the receiver, looking at the ball the entire time.
The whole time.
And just picked it off perfectly.
He's like, oh no, I'm going out for the pass. You didn't get the memo?
Yeah, exactly. Like he ran the route better than he did. Just looked at the ball the entire time, knew the receiver was right there behind him, and took the ball away from him. Like that was really good. But I feel like our D line pressure is what you're talking about. I feel like they got held a little bit, and that wasn't called.
Oh yeah.
There'd be times where we'd almost get to the quarterback, and next thing you know, he'd scramble a little bit. I'm like, where's the freaking hold?
Yeah.
But,
well,
I just felt like
defensive
penalties. I think someone else brought it up too. 2 times they actually scored were mostly due to penalties. Yeah, some of them were actually on us. That the one where he shoved with the player back after he got up and held on to him.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure that was Morrison too. Yeah, and sometimes I will say this, penalties suck. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes like a play like that, where it's I'm not saying you have to stand your ground or anything of that nature, but what I will say is penalties like that, I don't get too upset over, just because you don't know what Morrison has been dealing with all game. You don't know, right. And at some point, look, your job as a cornerback is to get in his face and to get in his head and to eliminate him as a threat on the field. And sometimes there is jacking and jawing, between receivers and defensive backs. That stuff happens. And if there's, if someone's got his mouth running, at some point you're just I just need to shut it for you, and I'm gonna shove you. Unfortunately, sometimes that gets a penalty. Sometimes, I think it depends on where and when that happens. Don't do that in the red zone, okay? But if it's in the middle of the field, maybe it's a little different. I don't know. I tend to not get too upset over emotional penalties like that, where it's at that particular position group. I don't know. Maybe that's because I was a receiver, and so that in high school, and so that's just kind of that's just kind of built into my DNA. Who knows? But look, we win the game. Notre Dame is looking really good right now. We're still averaging 47 points a game, which is cool.
Yep.
We put up 40 points today. So wow,
Sam Hartman's just, being efficient. Yeah, he got rattled a little bit.
Yeah, he got rattled quite a bit. He was sacked 4 times today. So look, I'm happy where Notre Dame is right now. I think the Ohio State game is on the horizon. Everyone's kind of now looking at that. Now that we've moved past this game, I think it's okay to look forward to Ohio State. Yes, we got to take care of business at home versus Central Michigan. But with the Ohio State game coming up, I think it's okay for us to be looking down the road now, because we had to take care of business with this team on the road. Our first true road game against a team that doesn't suck. They're not great, but they're not a trash can either.
Right.
So, NC State's got some decent players. They have a decent quarterback who put up halfway decent numbers at Virginia before he transferred to NC State. So.
Yep. All righty. Well, I appreciate you having me on, and you guys have a good night.
You are welcome anytime, Adam, at Colts Fanatic 09. Anytime. Go Irish, and thank you for joining us tonight. Well, Jason Lynch, we'll invite you to speak if you want to jump on. Lynch Mob ND, if you want to jump on and give us your opinion, or maybe you fell asleep behind the wheel here, which is cool too. Really happy. We've gone down my sheet. Again, anything from a rain delay and estimate coming out, that was kind of the change in inflection there on the offense, where we started cooking a little bit better. And then you had the fumble by Hartman, followed with NC State not being able to score a touchdown in the red zone, which is where the fumble happened. Which is really a Brian Kelly team. We would have been really upset over that, and I mean we're upset about it here too. But the difference is the defense came up huge right after that. Very disciplined, very well coached, it looked like, and they missed their field goal. And I thought that was the point, because they could have tied it at that point, and they didn't, and they didn't get the field goal either, which is great. Well, Jason, I see you there, but you're going to shut us down for the night.
What's happening?
Oh, we're just chilling here. It's 12:30 in the morning, so.
Little morning podcast.
That's right. After dark. Good morning.
Yeah. No, I think overall thoughts on the game. First quarter, I was a little worried.
Pacing.
There. Yeah, I didn't like it. But then the lightning delay, and I think we got a quarter of practice and 3/4 of game. I think maybe, while they were in the delay, I think that maybe helped them kind of see what was going on and where we were going wrong. And then,
I agree.
First play from scrimmage, we run off 80 yards.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I actually didn't see it live. I was again, I'd seen something where they're like, okay, play will resume at 12:30 or whatever. Or not 12. What was it, 2:30 or something? And I'm like, okay. And so I was doing chores or whatever around the house, just kind of I tend to be kind of an active person, standing half the time and clean the kitchen or tidying up or just, I don't know. I always feel like I have a lot of nervous energy, and not that I'm actually nervous. It's just sometimes just sitting around doesn't do it for me.
Right.
But it was during the rain delay, right? Lightning delay. And I'm just going around doing other stuff. And I was kind of wrapping that piece up, and the doc, I hear her in the other room. She's got the toddler, and she's like, hey, they just scored. I'm like, wait, what? They started? She's like, oh yeah. The game's back on, and Notre Dame scored. I'm like, no. And so we rewinded on the cable here, and I'm just like, holy shit. So I actually didn't see that play live.
Really?
No. So I saw it on replay. I know. Here's what sort of hashtag RTDB person am I? So, but no, it's great. And then then we got caught up and all that, and yeah, it was great. So
absolutely. I think overall, from the Navy game last week to this week, I think I see improvements all the way around on both sides of the ball, but there's just a few things that still need a little bit more cleaning up, and that's, thank goodness, we've got Central Michigan next week.
I think so too, but I also think the The concern I have, I guess, is I would prefer that next week was not Central Michigan. That's just me personally. I prefer it be another Power 5 team, like if we were playing Duke. I'd feel better because Duke's riding a wave right now, or even Louisville. Take either of those two teams, Duke or Louisville, and play them before we play Ohio State. Like, because that'll be all three of our non-Power 5 teams earlier in the season, and that kind of makes sense with conference play and this, that, and the other. But you're gonna have Navy, Tennessee State, Central Michigan. 3 of our first 4 games are non-Power 5 teams, kind of these lower level-ish kind of games. And not, strength of schedule type games, So though we can put up some decent numbers and we can rest the starters and get some of the younger guys a lot of, meaningful playing time, I don't want us to get rocked to sleep or rocked into some sort of false security. And then all of a sudden we play, Ohio State, who has better players. Let's not kid ourselves here. Recruiting wise, they are better. They have better players on their team. And Ryan Day is not a shitty coach. Okay. Now they don't have CJ Stroud anymore, which I think is great. And I do agree. And I think it was Adam who was saying that we have a better quarterback than Ohio State. I will agree with that statement, but that doesn't change the fact that in aggregate, in general, Buckeye Nation is pretty good. They're still feeling good about themselves, and they will come into South Bend ready to go.
Absolutely.
And this is a rare thing for Notre Dame and Ohio State to play. That's not in a New Year's Six bowl. It's very rare where you have Notre Dame playing arguably the best team in the Midwest.
Right.
So, for Notre Dame to be the best, we have to play the best and we have to beat them.
Right.
And so I think this Ohio State game coming up is going to be fucking huge. It's huge, man. It's a night game. I already told the doc we're going to mass beforehand, and she's so funny. She's like, "What is that like? Because like you want to go to church and you like receive the Eucharist before?" I'm like, "No, that's not why. It's because I know it'll be a late game, it'll be a night game, and then regardless of the outcome, we're going to do a podcast. Going to mass on early Sunday morning, yeah, that's not going to work for me. So we'll go to the vigil." Right, we'll get out and then we'll go home and we'll watch the game.
Yes, and then football can consume you for the rest of the
evening and into the wee hours of the morning, because that's what's going to happen, and it's going to be kind of like tonight, because we're maybe we're like getting ready, but so this is episode 11 of season 4, volume 97. We'll do a show, the Central Michigan show, next week. We will not be doing, we said this in the last show, we will not be doing a Central Michigan post-game show. I actually will be out of town, and Red Snapper and I will be, we have a family thing that we're going to be at instead. And then we will have episode 99 be the Ohio State pregame show. Episode 100 of this podcast right now is planning to be the Ohio State postgame show.
Love it.
And that's just how that happened. That's just, God did that. I don't know. I guess I decide, when we do a show, but it originally was going to be the pregame show, but then, stuff happens, and so we will not be doing a Central Michigan postgame show. What are we going to talk about, right? Like, hey, we scored a lot of points.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Hopefully we see. My concern is a little bit with, back up to Hartman. If something happens, I don't know where we're at.
Yeah, I think that's a legit concern, and maybe that's a good thing, quote unquote, that we're playing, Navy, Tennessee State, and Central Michigan.
Right.
Angeli and Minchie, whomever, they can get some halfway meaningful reps. I think if the defense had held them a little tighter, or we had, put up a little more with NC State, maybe we would have seen Angeli today. But hey, that didn't happen, and well,
right.
I'm not going to be upset about it per se. He'll see the field. I guarantee you, he'll see the field. Let me put it this way: at the rate things are going now with Notre Dame, averaging 47 points a game, we should see Angeli next week with some halfway meaningful playing time.
Yes, and I'll playbook up a little bit more for him, because I just feel like when he's came in for snaps, it's been pretty conservative.
Yeah, and maybe that's a function of the just where the game is. Maybe that's a function of let's not overcomplicate the hell out of things, right? I don't know.
Right.
The I mean, look, there will. I am okay with allowing a younger guy per se to buy his time, to be patient, because I think there's some valuable insight that comes from that.
For sure, yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
I think overall we'll be all right. Because Hartman, of course, the hit when they slung him down by his neck, I was like, well, that's not good. I was waiting for a call there, but we didn't get that. But we literally touched
that,
and it's a rough on the passer.
Yeah,
So that was a little bit rough to watch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Notre Dame is successful tonight, unlike the Crimson Tide. I think Alabama is the only team higher ranked in the AP above Notre Dame that lost today. I think everyone else won, so we can ideally, in theory, expect Notre Dame to rise up, which is good. And again, not that we put a whole lot of stock into rankings right now. But I will say this: we should see two top 10 teams face off in Notre Dame Stadium in 2 weeks. So
yes, absolutely.
Well, Lynch, I think we're gonna shut things down for tonight. I think Notre Dame is victorious. We're happy, and I think let's take the win. Let's be happy with it, right?
Absolutely, take it and move on to next week.
Yeah, let's do this. The Irish win. First true road game. First Power 5 team. First team in the ACC. And Irish finally get to 500 historically against NC State with this win. I think we erased a lot of mind diarrhea from rain delays and just bad blood with what's going on. So Irish win. Thank you for listening, everyone. Have a good morning now that it's 12:50. Go Irish, and see you on Tuesday.